Now in its 9th year, this is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Hey everybody. Yeah, it's the Ramble. I'm Alex. We're here till midnight tonight in New York, New York. Ladies and gentlemen, out to the left coast of the United States, it's Larry Bubbles Brown in the always falling apart San Francisco.
Yes, yes. Although I hear New York is having some trouble as well.
Yeah, well, we're having our problems are that Texas and Florida have been sending us all their what can I call it? What do they call it? Wretched refuse.
Wretched refuse. That's on the Statue of Liberty.
That's on the Statue of Liberty. You're so goddamn right. Yes, absolutely. So that we. Was it wretched refuse? How can you call people wretched refuse and think you're writing something nice? I all of a sudden it just hit me. How wrong was that? You know?
Yeah, it was. I don't know the whole thing, but it sent us your wretched refuse, your teeming something,
teeming shores of whatever. So anyway, so they're all here, and I mean, Marjorie was kind of like, gee, why don't they send them somewhere else? And I went, you know what you're sounding like? I mean, we should just find a way to have them here, This city's got a lot of money. It's got big money people here. Why don't they do something,
Does it have the room? I don't know.
Oh, yeah, we have the room. Yeah, there are, I can't remember how many millions of apartments available in New York City because people are moving out, But I mean, we don't have the problem you have with people on the streets sleeping on the streets. I mean, we have some, but we always had that, But we don't have what you have. How is
you don't have the tents in New York City or like that, people on the street, but. Out here, the city just tried to sue to stop that. It's the Ninth Circuit. A judge ruled that the people are allowed to stay on the street until you find a place for them to live.
Boy, that's a rough one.
Yeah,
that's a rough one. I do feel that communities have what can I call it? Not a desire, a responsibility to take care of these people, and we can do it. I mean, we are, that is a city. You do have police departments, you have medical, you have all kinds of things. Put those things to work. Am I right or wrong?
Well, they got to do something, although people just seem to be, they shrug their shoulders. It just gets worse and worse, so I don't know if anything is going to happen.
Mm-hmm. And then, I mean, I go outside now, and it's the city. I don't leave the apartment much. There's nothing out there for me. Plus, I'm as like I had my little accident and stuff. It's a lot harder for me to walk for some reason,
Yeah.
So I have walking problems. But I mean, I see all these people out there, and it's not good, and it's not going to get any better. And we just had, I can't remember how many kids from these refugees, they were put into the schools here, a couple of weeks ago, and that's putting a great pressure on the city to deal with the new students in these primary schools. So I mean, it goes on and on and on, But you've got a real problem there. I mean, that I remember I saw a what do you call it? An interview with the governor, Gavin Newsom, and they said to him, you know, if you decide to run for president, this is going to be a mark on your record. Excuse me, I'm not talking well today. I can't come up with the words. I don't know if I got enough sleep last night. I don't know. I slept, but I don't know if I slept well. Okay.
No, I never sleep well.
Anyway, and they said that would be a mark against you. And he said, hey, listen, you know, I accept it. I will take full responsibility for it. And there are many mistakes we're making, and there are many good things we're doing. But you know, if you want to come after me for San Francisco, come ahead. You know, I'm guilty of that. You know, it's a very hard problem to solve. How do they perceive of Gavin Newsom in California? Is he considered a good governor?
Well, he gets elected by a pretty big margin, so I guess they do.
Yeah, so he's considered okay. I mean, you like him?
He's not my favorite guy, but I would. The problem, I think, is like you said, they used to have most of the people on the street they're either drug addicts or they're mentally ill, and they used to have hospitals and places they would put those people in.
Yeah.
So, and I've heard two stories. I don't know who's to blame. Some people say, oh, Reagan, in the 60s, Reagan cut the funding for the hospitals and they're put in the street. And then other people say, no, Pat Brown said it was a civil rights issue and he let them go. So they're probably both guilty. But
actually, it was Reagan, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
You know, that he was not doing anything about. He literally closed down the mental institutions. You know, the government-run medical institutions, and you had all these people out on the streets. Well, how good is that going to be? You know?
Yeah, and the drug problem has made it worse. So I just remember in the '80s when I was doing your show out here, there were you'd see maybe a dozen homeless people on the streets. Now it's thousands.
Yeah. Yep, you're absolutely right. So you know, it's what are you going to do? You know, I mean, I say you take what you got and you spend it on this problem, and you throw it at this problem, 100%, because it affects every San Franciscan. You know, it doesn't just affect the poor who have to live in those tents. It affects the wealthy. You know, and it affects the middle class too. So you got to do something about it, and they should start doing something about it. Damn it!
There's so many stores that have closed down, and Nordstrom's gone now. And
well, that's caused by a different problem. That was caused by robberies.
That's a crime, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, shoplifting was at an all-time high. It is here too. I now go up to Rite Aid, which at one point I went to Rite Aid and there was nothing on the shelves. And I went over to the pharmacy and I said, why is there nothing on the shelves? And they said, it all got stolen. And we haven't restocked it yet because they'll just come in and steal it again, because somehow our mayor came up with the idea that they wouldn't prosecute simple shoplifting. Well, you know, then you're going to have rampant shoplifting.
Yeah, same out here. So
Yeah.
How is your mayor?
Well, our mayor sucks. He's the worst.
Every time I see him on TV, he just keeps saying, I'm on a plant-based diet. And that's all he's...
Yeah, that's basically him, Mr. Plant-Based Diet. That and, oh, hey, I'm going to go to the opera opening. I'm going to go to this thing. I'm going to go to that. He loves the socialization of being the mayor, you know. So, I mean, he's horrible. But anyway, you know, we here in New York just have many of the similar problems you're having out there, but
you don't have the people on the street.
Well, we've always had no. They're in the subways.
Oh, that's where they go. Okay, well, yeah, they have that here too.
There's also, and I don't know where it is and where you have access to it, But you can go underground in New York City. You go down into the subways, and then you go below the subways, and there are these caverns. And there are people living down there. You know.
Sounds like it'd be a great movie script.
Well, I think that's what we refer to as our homeless shelter. You know, whenever you have to point buildings here or do any kind of construction on the buildings, you have to put up what they call as a protection platform. So that if anything falls from above, it'll fall on the platform, not on the people below. So our building has one all the way around it, and it's been there for the better part of 4 years now. You know, we'd finally like it to leave there through doing the work on the building. And what it attracts the homeless who love to move in couches and chairs and things like that to sit under the platform.
Great.
Right? And yesterday I said to our super, I said, when are they going to get rid of this homeless shelter? Because that's what I call it. You know, it's horrible. It's horrible.
Well, there's a whole group of people that live under the some of the hotels on the Strip in Las Vegas now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean,
well, America's like I don't know, we're just so third world now.
well, you know, some people are poor because they're poor. All right?
Mm-hmm.
They can't do anything about it. It's not that they don't want a job, but they don't qualify for jobs. And I mean, like I told Marjorie, they said all these people are coming and they don't have jobs and whatever. And I said, wrong. All these people, most of them, they're proud South American families who want to have a job to take care of their family. And I said they want the jobs, and they're going out and getting some of them here. But the only jobs that are going to be available to them are the ones that the normal population doesn't want. But give them credit; they're willing to take those jobs, whatever the risk.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, those will soon be taken by AI, so nobody will have a job.
AI.
AI.
I'm so sick of hearing about AI from people who don't understand what AI is. And they don't realize that AI has been around for a long time. Every time
I just thought it was an extension of the internet and computers, isn't it?
Well, anytime you get yourself a spam call on your phone, AI is doing that.
Mm-hmm.
AI has been around for quite a while, and it's just all of a sudden somebody builds a program that if I say, write a biography of Larry Bubbles Brown, I can sit here and watch it write a biography of Larry Bubbles Brown, because it goes onto the internet and looks for all the material about you and then quickly puts together something that is your biography. I did it for me, and it was about 50% wrong. So it's not as amazing as you think it is. But it is going to exist, and it is going to be part of the landscape, and it's something we have to live with, Is
it's not going to write screenplays?
It can write a screenplay, but not a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Because you got to realize AI does not have soul. It doesn't have passion. It doesn't have years of using that ability to create a great screenplay. So no, I don't think it's ever going to replace a normal writer, but it is going to, in some situations where people don't want to pay a writer, replace them. And then what they're going to get is mediocre stuff.
More mediocre than what we have.
Yeah. I mean, I should have done that. I should have done that here before we came on if I knew we were going to talk about this. And I put in, write a biography of Larry Bubbles Brown.
I wouldn't want to hear it. Someone tried that a couple months ago. The same thing. It was like half the shit was wrong. So.
Yeah. So I mean, even if you do AI, you've got to go back and correct it. And that takes somebody with knowledge. So it's I don't know that it's going to take over the world. I don't think it. Did you ever see a movie called Colossus: The Forbidden Project?
No.
In which a computer takes over the world. Yeah. And I think these things are possible, but not now, not immediately. And this idea we got to stop it now. Well, that's like saying you want to stop progress. And the fact is, this is all part of progress. Let me ask you. By the way, did you get your internet yet?
Yeah.
You have it now.
I have high-speed internet.
And are you going on the internet now and using high speed?
I'm just going. I get my email and I go right now. I look at. I've been looking at YouTube a lot. And it's there's a lot of bad videos.
Well,
people, but I notice they don't know how to. They make them too long. They usually have some horrible background music that's overpowering. It's just. And I'm not a filmmaker, but I thought, oh my God, these are horrible.
Oh well, I'm hooked on YouTube. Plus, you can go to YouTube now and see Larry Bubbles Brown.
That way, I would not want to see.
Well, you can hear him on my shows on Fridays. Just go to YouTube, look up GabNet, and there's a picture of you there on the shows that you're on. You're at the very beginning. Yeah. Yeah. Well, but I guess I have to send you a camera now, don't I?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to send...
I would be able to figure out how to work it.
I'll send you through it. It's very simple. Very simple. And then we hook up your camera, and then we get you Zoom, and then we talk to you. Doesn't that sound
complicated?
No, it's not. The only thing that's easier about this is I do all the work. I call you. All you have to do is answer the phone. But I'm doing this on Skype. I should have just had you have Skype and be able to, talk to you that way. But, whatever. Yeah. We'll work it out.
We'll figure it out.
So you have high-speed internet. Wow. Doesn't it seem faster?
Oh, yeah. It's nice to be able to open some things up that I couldn't before.
Yeah. Oh, no, I mean, you're just... And the other thing, and I had to get used to this was years ago. I mean, this is when I was still in San Francisco that I first got high-speed internet, is the idea that you're always on the internet. You don't ever sign into it by, having that thing make that horrible sound.
Oh, yeah.
You're always on. So any information you want or anything at a given notice, it's just you're there. You're on the internet all the time. So, did they give you an email address or anything like that?
No, I already had one. So.
Yeah, well, but they came in and they gave you like what they call a modem, right?
Yeah, there's a modem, and they ran it through the cable that came through the wall, and they hooked that up, I guess, to the modem, and that gets hooked up to the computer.
Yeah. And so you're now really speedy. Now, how old is your computer?
Let's see, I had it was completely rebuilt a couple of years ago, so I think it's fairly new. I forget what version of Windows it is, but
yeah,
it's not ME.
Yeah. Well, what you might do is go online and go to Zoom.com, ZOOM.com, and get yourself a Zoom account. Now, you won't have to pay anything for it. All you can do is do 40 minutes on Zoom, although if you call me, you can go forever, okay, because I pay for a Zoom account every year. But you don't pay for it. Get Zoom. And that's one way we can communicate as well. That would probably be clearer than you using the telephone.
Okay.
But then again, you don't have a microphone on your... Do you have a microphone?
I don't think there's one in that computer. Maybe.
Okay. Well, I'll after this is over, I will get your address, and I will go on Amazon, and I will buy you a not too expensive camera that you can hook up to that thing, and then we can start having you. I can call you, and we can have you download all the right stuff, and so on and so forth. Isn't that wonderful?
Okay. Possibly.
See,
I don't know
he sounds so excited, folks, doesn't he? So, but you didn't see anything on YouTube that you liked?
No, I'd say I did say there's a lot of old cars I like to look at. There's old TV shows you can find.
Yeah. You can find almost anything.
Yeah.
On YouTube now. I mean, it's amazing.
It's how do they hold that much video? I guess what do they have? Like a zillion servers or something?
That's Amazon. Wait a minute. Google. Excuse me. Google owns YouTube, and they have their Google servers. They have these massive server farms, various points in the country. And that's where they store them. They got enough space for all of that. And I mean, there are millions of YouTube videos. Literally millions. Yeah. And
some people actually make money putting things on YouTube.
Oh yeah, I make a little bit of money. A little bit. A couple of $100 every couple of months, But the wonderful thing about YouTube is that you can get a YouTube account. You're going to put videos up there. You can put hundreds of videos. You can put thousands of videos. You can put tens of thousands of videos. And they'll never charge you for it. Now, there are a lot of companies out there that will, but there's no need to do it because everybody goes to YouTube anyway to go look for stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that I've never paid a penny to YouTube for any of the stuff I have up there, and I have hundreds upon hundreds of videos over the years, maybe 1,000, something like that. They've never charged me a penny for it. So, and then you could get yourself a YouTube account, and you could do comedy from your living room.
You could. Every person is now a TV studio.
Well, that's the problem. Promise me that you've got the computer now, you've got the internet now. Do not do a podcast.
No.
There are just too many podcasts. I'm thinking of dropping mine, because there are just too many podcasts.
I forgot I read how many thousands start every day with a podcast, and most of them they quit within a week.
Well, I mean, they say there are 30 million podcasts, something like that.
Jeez.
But, some of them are just people who did one episode and that's it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I keep thinking that there's just too much of it, and radio. Forget radio; it doesn't even exist anymore.
Pretty much, yeah.
So I mean, pretty much the idea, of doing a radio type show is a thing of the past. I mean, you can do a podcast, but anybody can do a podcast. That's the problem. Most people aren't talented enough to do a podcast.
That's for sure.
And what are the podcasts that are the most popular? Mystery podcasts.
Somebody told me about the like unsolved crimes and things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's actually a good. That'd be interesting, maybe.
Well, it might be interesting, but it's too many of them. So all you people out there, will you please murder more people? We need more podcasts.
Well, who's the most popular podcaster? Is Joe Rogan?
That's what they say. That's according to Joe Rogan. I don't know. It might be. Who knows?
I think they said he's got 10 million viewers.
At one time, it was what was it? It was Mark Maron. He was like the first really big.
Yeah, and I
podcaster.
think he still might be up there.
He's still up there, but he's not serious enough about it anymore. You know.
Well, don't you run out of people to interview, don't you?
You're also doing movies now. You know, things like that. So anyway, hey, listen, we've run out of time here.
We have.
With the new,
but we haven't run out of bandwidth. Whatever.
That right, you won't run out of bandwidth at all. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, it's Larry Bubbles Brown. Thanks, Larry.
Thank you.
Now in its 9th year, this is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Okay, all righty. Okay, let me get my mic up here. I'm having all kinds of little, I don't know, I guess I've got the picture looking okay tonight. Man, it takes me it's a lot of work lately to do it, and I don't know what the problems are. I'm thinking of going to something simpler here. You know, I could just put this out over, go directly from Zoom out onto YouTube or onto Facebook, and not even have to worry about this. Okay, so anyway, how are you? Let me turn on some air conditioner in here. You know what it does? This room gets just. Today's not a hot day. In fact, it's quite cold, quite cool. But the problem that I'm facing here is that in this room there are, let's see, how many computers? 1, 2, 3, 4. Is there a fifth one somewhere? I can't remember. But anyway, at least 4 computers here, okay? Plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screens. And, there's a fifth computer. Okay, it's down here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I don't know. Anyway, it got a lot of them. And it's mostly the screens and the machines that are heating up the room and getting the room hot. So even when the room is cold, okay, it still gets hot in here. So I have to turn on the air conditioner sometimes. When it gets to be winter, though, then it gets to be really, really cold, and I don't have to do anything. Anyway, so it's whatever. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know what I'm talking about. But we do have a couple people who are waiting to get on the show, so why don't we go to them and admit them. And let's see here. We've got, oh, hey, look, Tom Yamaguchi. Oh, boy. Josh Wheeler and Jeffrey Stein, and, of course, me. All right? Hello, everybody. How are you?
Hello.
Hello. You weren't here last night, were you?
No.
Where were you? Mom?
Yep.
Yeah, he helps. He's a good son. He helps his mom out. You know, that's very nice of you.
He's officially 90 years old.
Really? Really? Well, she's not that much older than I am.
You got something to look forward to when you turn 90.
Oh, yeah. Is she in good shape?
Pretty good.
What do you mean pretty good?
Starting to lose her hearing, and she's getting real forgetful. And other than that, she drives.
Uh-huh.
And only during daylight, never on the freeway.
So she does. She still drives, huh? See, I think I'd still be driving if I, in fact, had a car. But I don't have any reason to, And I keep thinking about, gee, should I have a car here in New York? And I go, I'd never use it. But who we do have here tonight, someone we don't see very often, but when we do, we're very happy to have him here. Tom Yamaguchi. Hi, Tom.
Hi.
Oh.
Happy New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year. Everybody sends me notes. Patrick Blazek sent me a note saying Happy New Year. And I guess the only one that doesn't celebrate New Year is me. So, but thank you so much for. You know, Marjorie was complaining today because she was saying, here, these Jewish holidays come along and we're never invited anywhere. And that's primarily because we don't have many friends in Manhattan. So people are not going to invite us to go all the way over to New Jersey, for instance. So she feels left out. If somebody would just ask, that's all she cares about. So somebody next year, Jeff, call her up and invite us or something.
Okay.
You know, well,
I go through my son.
Huh?
I go through my son.
You go
and
through.
They do it on an email.
They do it on an email.
Yeah.
Now this is Rosh Hashanah and it's also Yom Kippur. Rosh Hashanah is the New Year. Happy New Year, everybody! And then Yom Kippur is the most depressing holiday ever invented. It's just, you know, it's a day of atonement. You're supposed to atone for your sins, and it's not very happy.
The hardest part for me is not being able to eat all day long.
Well, did you ever go along with that?
When I was a kid, yeah.
Really? Really? I figured, well, you know, I mean, if there's a God and he loves me, he wants me to eat. Right?
Absolutely.
He wants me to.
I like that.
No, I mean, you know.
Yeah.
God gave us this bounty of food, and it's there to eat, I guess.
Right.
Unless you're on a diet, in which case, you know, it's a whole different story. So what you been up to, Tom? We haven't talked to you in a long time.
Yeah, it was difficult for me to get on because of the living situation that I was in. But I've moved.
Yeah, that is
a new
different
house.
That is a different background, isn't it?
It is a different background. We have two houses on our property. Main house where I was staying, and then a cottage where we had a person staying here for several decades, and she finally moved out after several years of trying to get her to move out, and we had the pandemic. But then she moved out last month, and now I moved in.
Oh, okay. Well, now is this a house your family owned?
Well, I'm a part owner of this property since 1981.
Oh, okay. So you bought it with somebody else.
What's that?
You bought it with somebody else.
Oh yeah. My ex-wife and best friends got together. We bought the house, and the wife and I divorced, and other people died. Other people moved out. So.
Oh, it's kind of the theme for Rosh Hashanah, for Yom Kippur. People dying and moving out, and things like that.
Yeah. So anyway, so now I've in here, and I have also got my own internet service. So I've got better internet now.
Oh, really? Okay. But you seem to act like you're out on a property that maybe is out in the country a little bit or something like that.
No, I'm still in West Berkeley.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, then you
have it. Still in West Berkeley. It's like right next door to where I used to live.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And hello, Kevin. How are you?
Good evening. How are you?
Yes, I let Larry know about your offer, and his answer was, "No, I'll do it myself."
Okay.
Yeah, I figured that's probably what he would say because he probably doesn't want anybody coming over to his place.
So that's fine.
So we'll get him on somehow. But he got his camera today. Finally, took 2 times for Amazon to kind of get to him, and he left a note outside and said, just ring any doorbell, they'll let you in, and then you can leave it in the lobby. And I have a picture of it in the lobby, so that's
there you go.
That makes me feel good. But you know what happened? I decided I was hemming and hawing about this because I got this thing from Fios, and it says, "Hey, do you want 2 GB internet about $30 more a month, and I figured, at the end of the show, I have to upload stuff and download stuff, and it uploads and downloads pretty fast. But if I had 2 gigs, it would be hella fast. Okay, so I figure, what the hell? So I go onto the chat on Verizon, and I said, if I sign up for this, can I quit at any time and move back to my 1 gig? And he said yes. So then I'm looking at this thing. Now, everything they sent me said $119 a month, okay, for this service. And you get this, and you get that, and you get this, and you get that. And then I get another one, and it says, do you want it? It's great. It's terrific. So when I finally went to sign up for it, and they said, here's the one you're thinking of buying, right? And it says $119, and I say, that's terrific, that's wonderful. And then right below it, it says one-time sign-up fee, $149.
Holy shit.
And I went, what the hell is that about? They're telling me, hey, get this, and none of the advertising, none of the brochures and stuff they had did it. It only did it at the last moment when you would be signing up for it, and it was in very small letters, so you probably wouldn't even see it. What kind of a absolute shit show is Verizon?
Sounds like Walmart.
How does it sound like Walmart?
Because I bought a refurbished iPhone to play games on. It's 2 years old, and it says like new, 12 months warranty. I get the phone, and it works. It's in great condition. But the battery is fairly low. It's like 80%, and usually you start replacing the battery at that point. So I called them, and Amazon said, here's the seller's number. I called them. Oh, it's only got a 90-day warranty. I said, well, unfortunately for you, on Amazon's website, it says 1 year, and I've printed that out before I bought it. So you or Amazon is going to pay for a new battery. And that was today. We'll see what they say.
What, does Amazon know how to tell you to go screw yourself?
No, they'll give me my money back, I'm sure. Keep the phone, take your money back.
Well, what kind of lousy operation does that? I mean, nowhere in any of the places where you're looking at it and it says what it has and how much money it costs, and it says no additional charges.
Right.
And finally,
and
when
you're
you get
already a customer of theirs too, right?
Yeah. And so I get to the last page, where you're finishing off, and it says $119. I go, fine, and right below it just in small letters. Really, I mean, if I didn't, I don't need glasses for that size print, but it was pretty close. What's the idea of doing it that way? And
you don't want to call them, but I'll bet you if you called them and told them, I'm a longtime customer.
I did the chat with them, and I said, is there any way that I can get the fee waived? And they checked, and they said no.
Then you say, I guess you don't get anything.
Well, I told them, take your 2 gig and shove it,
Yeah.
I mean, if I needed it desperately, I'd probably wind up paying the $149 just to have it, but I don't need it that badly, so. It was just something I was thinking of doing. But that's the problem. So, I'm trying to think, is there anything else is anything happening today in the news that I haven't, it seems to be the same news every day,
Well, they're talking about a possible gag order for Trump. What's his name? The prosecutor wants the Washington judge to restrain him from making any more comments about the case, which will be interesting.
Find a pretty big cork for that one.
Yeah.
Well, Kristen Welker, who's now the new hostess of or host, is that the proper way to put it instead of hostess, of Meet the Press, interviewed him. And they kept showing just parts of that interview over and over and over again. And he keeps referring to, what's his name, the prosecutor in Washington and the prosecutor in the documents scandal as deranged.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Then why are they? Why are they giving him a format on Meet the Press to come on there?
Well, you
and
want to
say
hear, you want to hear
they
the
know not to be true, and the answer is because they have a new host and they want the first show to get a bunch of ratings. So for all they cry about him and moan and groan, they're going to turn around and make the premiere or whatever with him on there saying things that they know is not true, right?
Well, you know what's interesting? They said, they finished off their interview, showing the interview, saying, by the way, we have offered Joe Biden equal time. And I'm thinking to myself, is Joe Biden his competitor right now?
Right.
No. It's the people who are running against him in the Republican Party. They should all be given the chance
and I
to
understand that, Meet the Press is a program where the candidates for political office, especially the presidency, should be welcome and everything. And I get it, and I'm fine with that. But what I'm saying is, during the clips that I heard, is just stuff that's just not true. And he's not the same as everybody else, and he can't be treated the same as we would have did it 10, 15, 20 years ago. I mean,
yeah.
I heard him say over and over and over again, and I don't care because I have no preference on this, that all these electric cars are going to be made in China. And did I not get done talking to you guys privately last Saturday about the company that I happen to be at and the millions upon millions upon millions of dollars that my company is going to do just for our part of electric vehicles with one company, right? You know, that I'm not naming. But I'm just saying, I mean, that's just one part of it.
Well, to begin with, and somebody somewhere corrected that and said that the mass amount of American electric cars are made here.
Yeah, right.
They're not made in China.
And I don't even have a preference. Like, I'm not even pro-electric car or anything, and I'm not even anti. I mean, I don't want one. I'm just saying, I hear that, and I'm thinking, it's not true. I literally was driving. I literally had just driven away from a place 30 seconds before where a good deal of the work that is going to be done supporting people who work in a union shop, by the way, making very good money, is going to come from that industry. So, I mean, and don't get me wrong, he's not the first politician to say things that are, whatever, but is there a different level? And to put him on Meet the Press for their premiere is nothing but a stunt for a ratings grab to introduce their new host or whatever, and shame on them.
Yeah, shame on them. But shame on them because she didn't say to him, the mass majority of electric cars are not being made in China, they're being made in the United States. She didn't even correct him on that. So I just, the things they let him get away with in the name of ratings is amazing. But then to say that you've offered Biden equal time, for what? Biden isn't running against Trump right now.
President of the United States.
Yeah, he isn't running against Trump right now. And who's running against Trump are all those other candidates, but they weren't going to offer them all equal time because it'd be until November before they got them all on the air.
And as much people won't watch it, and that's what they're interested in.
Yeah.
So they're going to decry his anti-democratic, he's so dangerous, blah, blah, all of which I agree with, by the way. But they're going to chuck it all by the wayside for a few days to try to make some money.
No, but you know what I keep saying to Marjorie, because Marjorie watches MSNBC, which I just can't stand to watch anymore. There's only one person there, Katie Tur, who I happen to think is pretty good, But, I mean, I can't stand them because they are making the same mistake they made in 2016. They are, every day they're talking about Trump.
Yeah.
Every hour of every day, there's Trump.
And now they're just letting him repeat the same untrue phrases over and over and over.
I mean, if you would treat him the same as you treat, say, who are some of the Republicans who are running? Chris Christie. That'd be one thing. But you aren't. When's the last time you saw Chris Christie on MSNBC?
Well, they have him on in the mornings now.
Oh really?
Yeah, a lot, because he fits in with their, crusade.
Well, I happen to like,
I mean,
I happen to have
but-
gotten to the point where I've gotten to like Chris Christie, not because he has taken off after Trump, but because he's the only one of the pack who has the guts to do it.
Yeah,
You know?
I mean, but they at least, they have him on, but they have at least, from what I've seen, tried to keep him in check as well. They were talking to him about the rise in crime rates 2 or 3 days ago, and he was going on and on about this is what happens when you have George Soros prosecutors who don't prosecute and all that. And I will say, at least Joe Scarborough said, hang on a minute. I'm pretty sure there's not a George Soros prosecutor in Birmingham, Alabama, where the crime rate is the highest in the nation.
Yeah.
So you got to be fair here. And then Chris Christie, oh yeah, I guess you're right. And then goes on with his spiel. So he still tries to put this bullshit.
Well, he's
out
still
there, but,
he's every inch dyed-in-the-wool Republican. It's not like because he doesn't like Trump, he isn't a Republican. As a matter of fact, if you are a good Republican, you probably don't like Trump.
Yeah.
And what he's done to the
still had
party.
his bullshit. But I'm just saying, I didn't even know Trump was going to be on there. And I got in the car and I was driving home, and it was on that channel because it was on where I drove into work in the morning. And I normally just change it right away. But, I was getting the windows rolled down, the whole thing or whatever. And I heard this minutes worth of, the new host and the first interview. And I'm just like, that's the first interview. If it had been with Biden, that would have been whatever, or I don't know, or Chris Christie, or I would have taken whatever. But Trump, really? That's just. I don't know.
Yeah.
They're selling themselves now to use him to make ratings and money.
Does anybody remember what the original format was of Meet the Press?
Oh, I do.
Go ahead.
Wasn't it on like a half an hour?
Yeah. They used to. It used to be they would have a politician come on, and they had a panel of journalists.
Right, like
And each one it was the press conference of the air, and each journalist would have an opportunity to ask questions like in a regular press conference.
Yeah, I believe.
Well, I renamed it when Tim Russert was there. Meet the Russert. Because it was like him all the time,
Right. The focus became on the host.
Yeah. Well, what happened back in the original version? Martha Roundtree was the person who created the show and was the host of the show, and she would then bring on 4 people from the press, and then they would ask the questions of one person who was a guest on the show for that week. I think it was only a half-hour show at that time, and now it's nothing like that.
Oh.
Yeah. So, but they're having Meet the Press. Yeah. What?
I don't mind the show. I sort of like it, but I don't really watch it this time of year because on Sunday, this time of year, it's all football all the time. So, whatever. But that's what I'm saying. They're up against that kind of stuff, and their way to get a good start, hopefully, in their opinion, is to have Trump on. It's like, I thought they were finally starting to learn their lesson a little bit, but shame on me for thinking that.
No, they're making the same mistake they made back in 2016. What do you think, since he's here today, Tom, what do you think about that? Do you think they're over-promoting Trump?
Oh, yeah, always. But, that's the bind. He's a master at manipulating the media, and
they're the suckers. They're the suckers.
Yeah, and I admit that in 2016 I didn't estimate how the much power he had, and not going to underestimate him again, because he's a real serious threat. We really need to make sure that people are aware that if he gets in again, our democracy is gone. It's just basically gone.
I would tend to agree with you. Yeah. And I don't completely understand Trump from this standpoint. Why is he the way he is? I mean, he doesn't have any politics. It's not like he believes in anything. So what's his game? What does he want out of all of this? The power?
Power.
Huh?
Yes, he wants power, and he wants people to adore him, and he's gotten that. I mean, he's got people. He's basically hijacked the Republican Party because he's giving the Republican Party what they want.
Mm-hmm. And who's let
what's
him?
left of the Republican Party? He's giving them what they want. So they're just going to continue to be on his bandwagon.
Well, who let him hijack the party? It was the party. Party did nothing to stop him. They were afraid of him. They're afraid that his voters won't like them. And I just think they're worried about something that just isn't true. If they just wouldn't pay attention to Trump, play their own game, and say what they believe truly, and even criticize him from time to time, I think they would find themselves in pretty good company. But everybody's afraid to do anything about it. No one's ready to go after Trump, and that's the problem. Yes.
I can't wait to see what he does with the media if he loses the primary.
Well, he would have to lose a lot of primaries.
Well, but he wouldn't get the nod, and somebody else would. And
actually, he won't get the nod, but, and this is what I hate about primaries, is that the parties dictate that the state has to vote for the person who got the most votes in the primary on the first ballot. After that, it's anybody's game. Am I right, Josh?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That after the first vote at the convention, the primary votes get thrown out the window. You can do anything you want to on the second vote.
I'm pretty sure. I'm not great with the convention activities. Past that because it's normally not that big a deal. But yeah, I'm pretty sure because I think that played out a little bit in 2016 in the Democratic convention a little bit, didn't it? Wasn't there some? I didn't
Not really. I mean,
I don't remember having a nominee the first time. Maybe we did though. I can.
Oh yeah. Every time we come around these election cycles, it's always like, oh, we're gonna have a broker convention, and then it just doesn't happen. They come to a nominee quite quickly.
When I was a
It
kid,
didn't drag for days or anything.
when I was a kid,
know
they had
sometimes
they had
they do
brokered
that.
conventions. When I was a kid, sometimes they would go for 20 votes before they came up with a candidate. And they would go in the back rooms, and they were smoky rooms, and it was that's what they called them, caucuses actually, and. It was only until recent times that we really engaged in primaries as the primary form of getting a candidate. Before then, it was going in and fighting with people and making deals and bargaining and all of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's on his way to whatever. I don't know if there'll be any serious challenge mounted by then or not. I mean. My observation tells me no, but that's my observation at this moment.
I was thinking the other day about why people want so much to be a congressman or a senator, because I see very few of them that I actually believe want to become a congressman or senator because they want to make the country better, right?
Power.
It's all power.
Power.
And I was thinking, maybe is there any way we can restructure our government so that nobody gets power? They get something else, they get some kind of satisfaction, but they don't get power. But they're all, I mean, why does Dianne Feinstein stay in there this long? Power. Why is Trump acting the way he is? Power. It's all about power. And I think we have to take that power element out of politics and out of our government. But I don't know how we do it. And I don't know what would replace it. But maybe we don't pay them or something, you know?
Can I say something, Alex?
Yeah.
We need those positions to have power. It's why you pick the leadership. It's the whole dynamic of steering the ship. But it's the narcissism that gets corrupted by the power. And, you just have to have a good freaking feel for it. But there are so many people out there, they were raised by someone who is extreme narcissist, or they're married to someone who's extreme narcissist, and there's a codependent relationship where you make excuses for those people. And that's what these Trump voters do. It's a very unhealthy relationship that this country has with narcissism. And, that's really the answer, because we need positions of power. But it's the narcissism that just makes it makes the power just self-serving for them and no good for us. That's my hot take.
Okay. Yeah. So, how do we do away with some of that power? It's just there's something wrong.
Limit how long.
I don't know that it needs to be done away with. I just think the attitude or whatever may need to change, because the power ultimately does and always has, reside in the people. I think we abdicated a lot, in my opinion. I just don't think that enough people participate, and not very many people participate at a level that's good enough, and we choose these people. Now, a lot of this, what you're saying though, is fair enough. And if you were to go read just a nice narrative on the Constitutional Convention, you'll see that a lot of the stuff that you just asked were all arguments that they threw around. There were those guys at the convention that believed we shouldn't pay people, that it should just be something that you did. And then there was another contention that said, no, what we would really want in government is rich people, because they won't want to get more rich. They'll be serving it for the goodness of their heart. Right? That's what I'm saying. Different time, right? No, if you take a poor farmer and let him become a government official, he'll be able to make money off of that, and that will be his motivation for service. His motivation for service will be self-aggrandizement, was a term they threw around a lot. It won't be for the good of the people. Some of it was very arrogant, very short-sighted, right? I'm not, but trust me, this is why it took months locked in a room to get, and then a year and a half of ratification, right? Because once they wrote it, then the people who voted on it had those same arguments, So it's fair enough. I guess what I'm saying is it's been asked and argued like that since the beginning of our democratic ways, our democratic experiment. And what's always settled it is that the power always comes back to the people. We can do anything.
Yeah, but there's that old saying that
not to.
Power corrupts. Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely.
I don't disagree.
And I think that we give these people a little too much power.
I do too.
You go and you watch a guy like what's his name? The guy in California is the Speaker of the House. McCarthy. He's acting like an absolute douche. Absolute douche, and there's no reason for him to. If he were voting in the best interests of this nation, he wouldn't be doing what these second-hand Republicans, who somehow have control of that part of our party, of their party. They just wouldn't have any power at all, but they do.
I think this word power is it's misplaced. I don't think that's really what the problem is. You gotta have, we have checks and balances and all this other stuff. It's really the caliber of the people. We have to have somebody steering the car when we drive down the road. I mean, these positions, you know, I don't see the power as the problem. It's the people, and we have a mental health crisis in this country. I mean, to think that Trump, one of the greatest grifters of all time, is the only guy who can fly your banner. It's bonkers that he's ahead in the Republican race, and it's buck stops with the voter on this. If we had a better caliber person, we wouldn't be talking about power. But we have like mentally ill people putting mentally ill people in these positions. So it's, and I wouldn't go so far as to say a Trump voter is mentally ill, but there's something they're not saying.
I think there's something definitely.
Yeah, but that's exactly what
Go ahead.
Josh was saying. It's if you use your analogy, that puts that person behind the wheel, but who puts that person in the car? It's the people.
Yeah.
So it's still power from the people, and it takes more people to get involved to get those people in the car to steer it.
Do you think that?
And if you get the right people in there, that narcissism may go away if you get the right people in them. So I understand your analogy with the narcissism, but I think, if you can get the right people in there and get rid of the narcissism, the power would be there anyway, and it would be used correctly.
Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
We, the people, we made the judicial branch as powerful as it is today, right? Did we not? I mean, we gave them these decisions to make. If Congress had passed a law in 1970 with the federal law signed by the President of the United States in 1968, 1970, with all the same exact wordings that were in the Supreme Court's decision in Roe v. Wade, there never would have been a Roe v. Wade. There never would have been a decision here. That it would just be the law. But we didn't pass a law in 1970 or 68 or 71 or 70. Instead, we waited, and then we asked the court, and then we did it again.
Yeah.
After they did it, we waited 50 more years.
If we had made it a law, there'd be nothing they could do about it, right? Except to reverse it, but it would take a lot of work to reverse something like that.
But but see, they didn't reverse law; they reversed a ruling.
Yeah.
Right.
They would have had almost no basis to reverse a law.
It was unfinished
because
business.
it would have been a law. It's just like a law that says, if you make $100, you pay $10 in taxes on it. If you make $200, you pay $30. I mean, it's a law. I mean, don't get me wrong. Laws get, but they have to be a constitutional basis. And this court itself said there's no constitutional basis.
They thought they finished the job, and they didn't.
Legal basis, but we didn't make a legal basis.
No.
It's like Social Security. That's a law.
Right.
And it's a law that's very hard to change because the people love that law.
Yeah, and so the Supreme Court isn't going to take Social Security away because there's no basis to ever get a case to the Supreme Court saying that it's unconstitutional, because they're going to say, and every court below them, by the way, is going to say, no, Congress has the power of the purse.
Social Security.
They made a law that says this, that, and the other.
Social Security was set up as a law, right?
Yeah.
It was a federal program, a statute enacted by Congress, signed by the president. So they're going to say the other two branches agreed on this. Those are the elected representatives of the people, signed by the executive branch. We don't see anything unconstitutional here. It didn't try to say, enslave people, or it wasn't a law that said, you can no longer use the word fuck more than once a day, or any. Obvious constitutional roadblocks here. They're going to say they set up a spending program that said if you pay in, you get back. We got nothing here. It never would have gotten to the court. It never would have gotten out of the lowest courts. So that's what I'm saying. We gave them that power.
Tom,
we can still take it back.
What'd you say? What'd you say, Charlie?
I said they should have done Roe v. Wade as a law. It never should have gone to court. It should have been It should have been a law passed that women have the right to control their own bodies.
Yeah.
And we can do that tomorrow, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean,
They
if we
need
want to
to-
hurry up and get Congress in session right now, and we could get it done before midnight.
They have the
Tom-
power. They need to
It's not
use it
gonna
correctly.
Tom, you were saying that you were very worried about the future of this country.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is it only Trump that bothers you or worries you? Or is it,
Well,
is it just the American?
Basically, Trump has tapped onto something, that's beyond Trump. I mean, he's found something that locks onto that. As I said, he's hijacked the Republican Party. So there's a lot of, Trumpists. It's not Trump himself alone. It's the fact that the DeSantis's and the Nikki Haley's and whoever, they're just happy to get on that train. And when you go back to the House of Representatives and Kevin McCarthy, his speakership has been hijacked. Basically, he's a non-speaker. He has no power, really. He can't get anything done. He has to give in to the whims of the small number of
well, the Matt
House Republicans
Gateses,
that elected him, and
the Matt Gateses and the
he has
Marjorie
to-
Taylor Greens. Yeah.
Yeah, he has to do things, silly things like, let's do an impeachment inquiry on Biden.
Yeah, but
It's
I don't even
a
think
lot
he.
of
I don't think
Republicans
he.
don't want to. Don't want it.
I don't think he even wanted to do that because he knew the reality
No.
of it surviving.
He doesn't have the votes.
Yeah,
He doesn't have the votes.
but he did it to keep that group of people happy. But now he's getting a little bothered by them getting pushy. And today, he actually came out against them. He finally challenged them and said,
Well, that
"Come
was
ahead.
yesterday,
If you're going to
actually,
do
yeah.
something about me, come ahead."
Yeah,
Which
I heard that
feel-
last night.
Yeah, and I said maybe the guy has something below his waist.
Well, then he should
you know.
shut the entire thing down. I don't know if he did that yet, but that's my saying is, here you have, or at least maybe it's changed, but at least what looks like someone who was,
But
this is baloney, but is more interested in being Speaker of the House than they are doing the right thing for the nation as a whole.
Well, the problem.
Who elected this guy? The people.
The problem is that he has no control over his party. And he does not have the control that Pelosi had over the Democratic Party in Congress. She ruled with an iron hand. He's ruling. He's not even
They
ruling.
gave her the respect that she earned.
Yeah,
They
yes.
gave her the respect. No, she earned that. It was,
Oh,
and they respected her, and they were willing to work with her. It's a different situation.
Believe me, she had to earn it harder than any guy would have to.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, and she, I think, did a great job. I mean, I think she knew the way to do the job because her father was in politics too.
Mm-hmm.
So she saw it growing up. So she grew up with it. It was the family business, as it were. But I don't know. I'm worried, but then again, I go, well, I'm 83. How long am I going to be? How long am I going to be around? Do I have to worry?
We're going to hear this from him 10 years from now. Yeah, I'm 93. How much longer do I got to
Believe me, if I'm doing this show 10 years from now, shoot me. Okay?
But with what you were saying earlier about your concerns and all that, I mean, I'm serious. If people are interested in that, I mean, there's a couple, 3 books I could recommend that are a narrative of the convention. They're probably 250 pages. I mean, not big old thick books.
But let me ask you a
would
question.
see that those same arguments were bantered about.
But let me ask you a question. What has happened? In the old days, back when I was a youth, going out and making trouble and being a left-winger and marching in the streets and all of that, we were very active, but we were also paranoid about everything. Oh, this is going to get us and that's going to get us, and the FBI's doing this and the FBI's doing that. And now the paranoia is on the right. And it's the left that goes, everything's wonderful, everything's okay, you know?
I've noticed that too, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the kind of paranoia we had back then about things is now the
establishment,
the purview of the MAGA people.
What I said before was, I think, becoming more clear to me now that when the history books are written, the historians are going to consider 2016 what political scientists and historians call a realigning election, where everything that you thought was once moved itself around at one election cycle and no longer was the same. The paradigm totally changed.
Look who was president before that election. Obama. We had made a great paradigm shift with Obama. I mean, a black president, okay? A just amazing paradigm shift. And then in 2016, we get Trump. How do you go from one to the other?
When you have
backlash.
Realigning,
it was a backlash.
Yeah.
When you have these realigning elections, you typically have an issue or two that transcend party membership and fracture the country enough that people are willing to do things that they normally didn't do. So to illustrate it, two examples of what historians would call realigning elections. One would be 1860, when Lincoln was elected and people who believed in certain things no longer did. We had a civil war. And another would be like 1968, where everything was about civil rights. Civil rights gets passed, and Lyndon Johnson says Democrats have lost the South for a generation or 5 generations or whatever he said. And he was absolutely right, correct?
It was also Vietnam,
Post 1968, Alabama, Mississippi, Texas, Georgia, Florida, none of them voted for Democrats anymore.
Tom,
right?
what were you saying?
It was also Vietnam, too. Vietnam was a really...
That was a very polarizing.
Well, that's what I'm saying. There are usually one or two issues that transcend your party membership. We have a huge election, president, most of the Senate, all of the House, and everything changes in an unexpected way, and then the path that the country was on diverges, goes on a different path, and that path is nasty, right? I mean, post 68 it was nasty. It led to craziness. Post 1860, nasty. Post 2016, nasty. It's been rough, right? I mean, now we have arguments over the silliest things. I mean, that the federal government honestly should not even, and suddenly, like I'm saying, Republicans for years and years and years, the federal government has no right to tell your local school board how to run their school, and now all of a sudden they're very interested in telling your local school board, right? It's been realigned. Things that you once thought 20 years ago, 10 years ago, are completely flip-flopped in your mind. I mean, and that's why I say when we go through these things, people cannot stand up and say, well, that's not the Republican Party of 1860 or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, you're right, it's not, because it's flip-flopped about 4 or 5 times since then. And you need a flow chart to figure out what someone then would call themselves today. Because it's just not a straight line.
Nothing is normal.
An issue or two come along, and like Tom said, civil rights in Vietnam, I don't know that was a party thing, right? I mean, that was just people, plenty of good Democratic Union hardworking voters in Minneapolis, Minnesota, I'm just going to say it, they didn't like niggers, right? So they said, I'm not voting for that guy that wants it. Craziness, nonsensical type thinking that will not improve their life, will not, the things like bigotry go into it, racism, just plain.
And it all comes out.
Stupidity.
People aren't afraid to bring it out.
Right. And you get the right timing and the right person, and that's how you end up. I mean, part of my appreciation for Lyndon Johnson was that he could see it, that he understood it, that he knew it, he could see it, but he said it's still got to be done anyway. you know, I mean, they made it into the movie with Bryan Cranston, but I remember him giving that famous speech, and I think it was in Texas actually, where he said, you know, if we make this election about nigger, 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 that's all you're ever going to hear about for forever, and it's not going to work, you know. And he finally got people to understand civil rights has got to get passed. It's coming, whether you like it or not, eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And if you make your stand, it's just not going to work out for you. And, you know, I mean, now we can't get a politician brave enough to talk that way. You know, so I think that's what it's going to be considered. Is it's just going to, everything just changed. The whole modem in your mind.
Modem.
You know, it just can't process what happened. You know, it's like you look at this guy, and if you couldn't see him and you didn't know their name, they're saying things that if they'd have said it in 2010, you'd have been like, Democrat. And now you look at the screen, and you're like, what? Republican from, you know, Oklahoma? What? I mean, you just can't understand it, you know?
Right.
I mean, that's what I think.
Well, you know, I mean, we live in interesting times, as the old saying goes, and it's not good. You know, it's not good. It's just nothing. Not to begin with. The worst part about it is nothing gets done, and that's horrible.
And were we not saying the same thing at those times?
In what times?
During those times that we were in this turmoil, nothing was getting done then either.
Yeah.
Well, I think there was more getting done in the name of nothing than is getting done now. You know, I mean, let's face it, when you can't get these jerks to decide that it's a good idea.
I would say more so now, probably. Yeah, you're right.
That you can't get a bunch of people to vote for a spending bill. You know, let the government go into default.
Because, I do think what is different is you did not really have the willingness among politicians, for example, to say, oh, well, because I didn't get my way, we're going to shut the government down. Or because I don't like one of the policies that the military has, I'm going to place a hold on all promotions and approvals of nominations for military leadership and totally up into military, you know, like Tommy Tuberville, right? I mean, you had people who had some integrity and said there's a way to fight that, and I'm going to fight it that way. I'm not going to throw a hissy fit like a baby, you know, because I didn't get my way, you know.
Which is going to be interesting to see how many people actually come out and vote in this next election, you know, and try and change things. Because it did happen in the last election. I know, Tom, you work the elections like I do, and there was a hell of a turnout that last general election, right?
Yeah.
Will that continue in this next general election? That's going to depend on who's running, and, you know, depending on who's running, will that still bring more people out to actually make those decisions on who's going to be there? You know, that's going to be a big thing, because
I'm wondering how many people.
Whoever's on that ticket is going to be, you know, what's going to happen the next 4 years.
I'm wondering how many people are going to come out to vote against somebody rather than for somebody.
And that's the other thing, you know.
Now we have one other problem.
I just wish people would come out and vote, you know, for a candidate.
The statistics lately are not good because, to begin with, most of the country on both sides don't like the candidate they're going to get.
Okay? Either one of them.
Yeah, either one of them. But the big problem with that we have with Biden is his age. Now, I can talk about it because at 83, I can talk about what age is all about.
But Trump's going to be 80 when he's in the office.
I know.
So
I mean, him too.
Why is that not being talked
about? I'm worried about this whole age issue because, quite frankly, we saw a young president in a Barack Obama. And how refreshing was that?
Nice.
You know, the idea that presidents and politicians all have to be old. I think the prime time is like 50 years old. 60, then up into 70, and then get out of the way and let the new people come in. You know?
Eddie
But
Wilson,
no,
how
you've
long
got
was he?
look at Feinstein, for crying out loud. I mean, what's that all about? You know, it's not like she was a spring chicken the last time she got elected. You know, and that's ego. See, that's ego. I'm not willing to give up. That's ego. And
Can I make it? Yeah.
what were you
Can
going
I
to
make an observation about this?
Sure. That's what the show's
In my
about.
lifetime, there's only been one president who died while in office.
Mm-hmm.
He was in his 40s.
Yep.
Okay. And the person that took over, Lyndon Johnson, did a pretty good job.
Oh yeah, no, Johnson was
Did a
amazing.
great job.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
In fact, he was
So-
a much better president than Kennedy was.
Yeah. Another observation, you know, when Obama was running against McCain, they wanted him to run against McCain's age and his health. And to Obama's credit,
He did.
he did not. He didn't bring up McCain's age and health. Now, if John McCain had actually beaten Obama in 2008 and served out a full term, possibly got reelected again in 2012, he could have served out another term and wouldn't have died until after every 8 years as president. So there's a lot we don't know. But I will just say one more thing, and that is a lot of the stuff against Biden is really against Kamala Harris. They do not want Kamala Harris to be president.
That's true.
And it comes down to racism and sexism.
Exactly.
That's-
Well,
What's
I
so
don't-
bad
I- one
about
part.
Kamala Harris?
Well, let's put it the other way. What's so good about Kamala Harris? I mean, let's not lower our expectations of what we want in a president. There is the thing that's scaring people is she's an unknown. Is she good? Is she bad? Maybe
She's black and she's a woman.
No, but
and people don't want that. That's what
I don't think that's fair.
I don't know that you're exactly right, Tom, because we have enough females in politics now, far more than we ever have, and we have a lot of people of racial difference, racially.
But I
you know.
still think that's an issue, black and white.
Yeah.
Do you think
I
it
do
really
What
think
happened
that.
to Hillary? She was far more qualified to be president.
Oh, there's no
than
question. She was probably the most qualified person ever to be president. Look
she
at all the
crushed it with
jobs.
votes.
Huh?
She crushed it with votes too. Let's not forget. I mean,
She did win.
she did really well.
Yeah,
I don't know.
on the
I don't
popular
like Kamala at all, and I don't think it's because she's a woman or black.
Well, here's
or I don't. She's not even black, right? Or you
yeah.
know.
Well, it doesn't
doesn't
matter.
grow.
It doesn't matter. They said that about Obama. Well, he's not all
Yeah.
black. Well, no. In the South, if you're even an inch black, you're black. You
One
know?
drop. That's all it takes.
One drop. So I mean,
Check his birth certificate.
yeah, I just feel that the big problem people are having with Kamala Harris is she's an unknown, and they don't feel comfortable with the fact that Biden could die while he's in office. You know,
No,
he's in,
young people really like Kamala.
yeah.
You think so?
Yeah, and people 30 years and younger. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I have nothing against her, but the interesting thing
Freaks me out.
I'll tell you, we're about ready to play the theme here. In fact, I'll start it up here, although you guys won't hear it. The thing is that Kamala Harris and your governor out in California, Gavin Newsom, are going to be the two prime people who might be running for president in 2028. And these are two people who are very close, okay?
Yeah.
They suspect closer than anybody would like to believe, okay? And that's going to be interesting. Will one of them get out of the way for the other is what the question will be. So, but anyway, I thank you all for being here tonight. It's been a really good hour of discussion. Jeff, thank you so much for being
Thank
here.
you.
Always nice having you here. Josh, always very smart. Tom, you should call more often. You add nicely
I will.
to the group.
I will.
And you may notice there are a few people that are not here that really aren't here anymore. So the coast is clear to get your point across. You know. Also, thanks to Alan. We appreciate it. Kevin, thank you. Brian Sigmund, always nice to have you here. And finally, of course, Charlie Wallace. Everybody give a big wave goodbye, and I'll give a big wave goodbye at you, okay? There they go, ladies and gentlemen. That's our citizen panel for tonight. There'll be another one forming right after this program on the intersection with Jack Bishop. You can call him using Skype at GabNet Live. We'll be back again on Monday on Facebook with the pop-up show at 4 o'clock in the East. And then again next, Wednesday, same time, same station in life. In the meantime, as always, if you see her, tell her I love her, okay? Bye-bye, everybody. Have a nice weekend.